So the question is, great question, examples of sitting into lying. Now, again, this is where I like to see a video because just to give this answer, it's open-ended. And so I'm going to use my baby doll. This is where I wish I had a baby on hand 24/7 that I could just manipulate, but it doesn't work that way. So let me turn this up a little bit more. Okay. So when your child is in sitting, so at 5.5 months, sitting happens, independent sitting, right? Your child should be able to independent sitting. There's a couple of key milestones that are going on right then and there. Excuse my skeletal system's in the back here. But so when a child is independent sitting, right, this isn't prop-based sitting. This is not something that you sit there, you know what I mean, like, and hold and do all that. That is not sitting. There's keys that go into sitting, but with sitting, you're going from an x-axis really to a y-axis and then on to a z-axis if you're looking for the mathematics of it. But the big thing that you're looking for is right here in the trochanters. In the baby's hips, your trochanters, right, they will start doing balancing part, right? They'll go into this and they'll start to balance, right? What happens there? They can only balance to do all that when vision is coming into play. When a child is starting to look over, right, the sides of the pelvis, and you just see that, just shift in your seat, and you'll feel all that. Because there's a lot of things that are going on. First of all, you're dealing with your vertical transitional skills, but also what you're dealing with is the fact that your baby is starting to manipulate, again, where I've talked about before, where they push down. I don't shift by lifting my hip. I shift by pushing down my one hip so my other hip can lift. Very similar from a seesaw, right? If you're sitting there and you don't have a partner, the seesaw is not going to lift up. But if you have a partner, especially one that's a little bit heavier than you, or the way they shift their weight, if they're equal, then you will rise and then you will come in depending on. And so you can change where your shift is to change that momentum. It's not that you've changed your weight, right, or changed your mass, but the way that you sit within regards to the fulcrum and that other person, right, allows that seesaw to operate. That's not much different than the way the pelvis is setting up. But the pelvis is setting up with vertical vision. If a child goes to look here and they fall, right, they will start limiting their peripheral vision. This is one of the things that you'll start seeing with autism. You know, autism's biggest complaint is, oh, my child won't respond to their name. They won't respond to their name, or they can't physically respond to their name. The reason autism is just on a full-on rise is because it's a movement disorder. Right? Yes, there are some genetics that pertain to autism, but with all the autism that is down in 1 in 29 and so forth, if you think that there's some gene causing this, no, it's movement. We have a bad delivery, the child's not evaluated properly, the child's not moving properly. Now you're going into these deviations of movement, and the deviations of movement go into autism. It's just like when I call it space-based autism. Astronauts go into outer space. They lose all their developmental milestones. They lose their peripheral vision and their ability for crossing visual midline, and therefore they don't play well with others. It is no different than the movement issues that are caused with autism, and you're getting that in outer space. So you can see, again, a clear correlation between movement and autism, just using, and that's why I look at outer space so much, right? It's really just proving all my theories of movement and the way the brain organizes, right? Yes, you can have brain damage and you can have genetics, and I understand that, empathize with that, but at the same time, we don't look at this clear-cut things of organization of movement, and especially of babies, we're going to have kids more and more getting services, can't read right, can't ride their bicycle, all these little, what I call glitches, but they're compounding quite substantially. So the other thing that your baby is working on in sitting is going from the pubic bone into the sit bones, right? So your tailbone, right, is learning again that push away, but it's learning how to push away without knocking you over. So you're getting this little tripod effect of the tailbone and the sit bone, and you're getting into that. They're taught in anatomy that one day we will no longer tailbone. If that's the case, we will no longer walk and the computer has won. So again, careful what you're taught in a lot of schools because they don't understand movement. So when a child's here, and now as that becomes more complex, right, they are starting to cross midline. So picking up an item here and picking up an item there. These are really, again, things that need to happen in independent sitting, not coming to sitting, right? And so visually, they're also learning how to converge, short convergence, and then let's look at mommy and daddy and whomever, and then come down here, right? And they're starting to work the room. They're doing all that so in very simple, complex thing, because it's the first time they're going into these vertical movements at 5.5 months, not 10 months, not 15 months, at 5.5 months. Because again, what I taught you before, the sutures still have infused in the baby's neck and head, and so in the head, and so by doing this, all these little C-plus totters, your bones are actually doing to float the bone. So when that happens, right, and now they're starting to learn that, and that makes the hips independent, but it's synchronized with the eyes, and now we're getting into the coming sitting. This position here is very hard for them to get in and out of because they haven't learned that yet. On 6.5 months, your baby will suddenly see an object literally rise into position. They will see an object and rise into position. They use very little muscle, but they come to sitting from their back. And then that too, they see an object, have an object, they literally, in a sense, go back and forth. These are transitioning skills. They are transitioning and transfer from their back up into sitting and down into sitting. They do not do this through the center, right? This is where you'll start seeing baby crunches, and this is a warning sign or one of the on-guard signs for cerebral palsy. Doesn't mean child cerebral palsy, but when a child is doing this, we have a problem. They come up, they weight transfer through their elbow, through their trochanter, right? And that trochanter I was just talking about sets it up for sitting, and it comes back down again, right? This is the way it is, and eventually they will go into all fours and back out of it again to all fours and out of it. A child doesn't get placed in all fours, they get in and out of it. We do not get placed in the car, we get in and out of it. We have transitional skills for a lifetime. Now, what happens is, okay, that did an independent sitting. Now, stuff didn't happen sitting up. And this is the biggest. So first, like in the state of Arizona, and I'm going to put this here. So in the state of Arizona, coming to sitting is no longer a milestone. You look at the CDC, coming to sitting is no longer a milestone. There's a complete difference. What I just showed you in independent sitting versus coming to sitting. If you come to sitting, then you're going to go up to standing. You're going to start doing that. Everything that your child is doing is very labored and where they have to hang on to stuff, where they do. Also, what I'm going to show you here is what they do is roll to their belly and that way. That's not coming to sitting. No. Why? Because you've just passed a huge milestone. So what we'll see, the child will roll over. Again, the roll over won't be great. Head will be down. This is where you have a hard time and the child starts bucking. But eventually, and this is where, again, you go wrong with a lot of programs out there, therapies and so forth. Oh, they only get stronger. No, this is where you need a heck of a muscle. This is where senior citizens get off the ground either. Sit like this. Oh, they prop back and what happens? W sit. Right? And this is where you go. This is what happens is now all I have a head jump back down on the floor again. And this is where you get the delays in crawling, you get the delays in all of this, you get delays in the and again, I'm doing all of can I see you? Talk to my mom. No, I can't see anything. But this way, I'm right there. I get my eyes on the prize. My eye on the prize the whole time. But this I've already lost. That completely different form of development. Listen, guys, people just want locomotion. As long as they can adhere to the part that's locomotion, not development. There's a big difference between locomotion and through the motion, you know, hear that all again as adults versus going to developmental milestones that are necessary for your child's development. It's but it seems like a lot because you just want things to happen, and this is don't push them at the same time too. When you're you can see all those little glimpses of development happens. And what are you? Oh, let's 2 months if they figured it out. What are you waiting for? Everything there that needs to be done, things you need to start working with. If your child and it's sitting in, right? This is where you're just working simple little things. And video you have just going to be working trochanter as they're looking at the puppy dog, looking it over, and this is where you have to that pelvis, right? That pelvic rotation, and that happen. Right? There's so many things that need to happen. What we need to happen is milestone momentum. Child needs to be able to move in position. And that's what creates independence. They can't move in positions where all of a sudden and everybody's like behind. You notice a typical child, you're not worried about them falling over. You're not worried about those old. This too has a baby that's constantly falling over, flop strong enough, worse, back, can't maintain. These are signs, valuable signs, giving you to do, right? Not giving you on eating, where that art needs to stop. So what do we do? Patience. If it's not rolling over, go back over, rolling over course. I clean up. I have Envision, but I clean up my course, grabbing the feet. I have a really good long course, part of the support program, and going into course. That course. Don't have a good patient if you're using at least those, keep even 2, right? This is where the struggles. I always tell you, if a child finds something difficult, send, do it. Another way. I with a bad still have clients. You have to come to work. You used to take care of your family. You have to cook. We have Thanksgiving going up. We don't have time for ailment, right? Your ailment move well. If your easiest way of movement is in pain, that's not fair to you. Right? It's a issue, and that's what it needs to get at. So I love these questions because they're just getting you more and more educated on what is needed for your child, right? And this is why development, this whole developed, when develop, they're warning signs. And I've had a different life, right? We're going to be different people, but that's a lifetime of patience. Baby, this is all shit. Thanks, guys.